Let's talk about youth aid panels a little bit, and if you can take a look at just what we've written about your youth aid panels. About 30 youth aid panels is what you operate now in 19 municipalities, and again, hundreds of volunteers involved. What is an individual panel? How does that work?
A panel consists of approximately 6 community members who we've trained. They go through a 12-hour training. And the panels come together once a month to work with youth who have had some sort of misdemeanor infraction, and the police officer will refer them to us.
Is this a misdemeanor that has already been adjudicated?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a summary offense.
Summary
offense.
But what happens is in each police department, there is a liaison officer, and he is appointed by the chief. It's important to have the support of the chief, and it's important to have the support of the community too. But the chief's support is very important. He appoints a liaison officer, and any summary offenses that they come through that the police think are valid. This is a first-time offender, and this is a kid that could use a break.
Is it because we realize that, please correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of kids are going to get into trouble because they're just kids and they do things? That doesn't mean that they innately are bad or going to be trouble over the course of their life. If you are, quote unquote, arrested at the right time, not arrest them, but arrest this problem at the right time, and try to steer them in the right direction?
Absolutely.
As opposed to throwing them in prison with a bunch of bad guys who teach them bad
But
things.
we're not even talking about prison, but we're
target.
talking about a blemish on their record that will follow them if this summary offense goes through. It follows you, and it can make the difference in picking one person or another for a scholarship, or it could affect your life. So what we do is we offer them the opportunity to not have that happen. It won't go through the criminal justice system. It'll be held in abeyance until they come to our program. They agree to certain criteria, and then they'll come before.
And how does that work then,
panel.
Tracy? So that I'm this young person and I'm on your panel, or I'm go before your panel?
You go before the panel, and the panel will ask you questions, the youth questions. And essentially the questions are, so tell me a little bit about what happened that night. And then it goes into, well, how do you think your parents felt when they got the call in the middle of the night that you've been arrested? What we're looking to do is we want every student who goes through every youth who goes through our program to feel better about themselves than they did when they started. So they go through a questioning process, or interview with our panel for 20, 30 minutes. At the end of that time, the panel will make a decision, and it's the panel, not the youth, who makes the decision.
And what kind of decision are we talking
They'll
about?
come up with a resolution that they think will assist the student in understanding what they did and how it affected the community, how any sort of educational
Is there a community
needs that
service
they have.
component?
Community service, usually classes, typically letters of apology.
So this isn't a one-off thing. You go to the panel one time and for 20 minutes and you're done.
No, then you have about a month, sometimes 2 months, to do the work that's been assigned to you, and you go back to the panel and you present. And if you've done a satisfactory
you get high school
job,
credit for that?
because it's a lot of work.
It can be very emotional. I mean, there are times when one of the key, for me, one of the things is we ask very often, first of all, each panel has its own personality, and it gives its own resolution, and they're unique to that panel or maybe that neighborhood or area. So that's important, because that's where the rubber meets the road. The panelist is from that community. They know, usually there may be times when they even know the child that comes from. Sometimes they might ask to be excused from the panel because of that, but other times, a child might see one of the panelists in the street. He's their neighbors. It's where it's in the community, so that's an important aspect of it. But there are one of the things is usually panels, or a lot of times panels, will say, write a letter of apology to your parents, and don't let them see it until you come back, and then we have them read it. We always have a box of tissues there, because it can be very emotional, and they get a lot of assignments that are of that nature, like maybe work at Don Guanella Home for special needs people. Each panel has different criteria for what they're going to assign to someone.
And you have a bully prevention program.
We do,
How does
we
that
do.
work?
That's something new that we've just been trained in the last year. It's the Alveus Bullying Prevention Program, which is known fairly well nationwide. This is a fantastic program because it is a school-wide program. It's not a curriculum that you take into the school, but it actually it's actually rather neat because you train every staff member in the school on how to identify bullying and how to deal with it.
Wow.
So,
Well, I want to continue on that, find out a little bit more, and also about replicating you in every county in the region. More on preventing and settling conflict in a moment on InFocus on PHL 17. Stay tuned. We're back on InFocus as we discuss settling conflicts, arguments, and the like with Paul Summers and Tracy Hornick of the Center for Resolutions based in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. We're talking about bullying here. So these programs that you're starting up or have begun in the schools, are they focused solely on prevention, or do you also deal with cases that come up?
oh, we deal with cases that come up. We train everybody to identify bullying. And then when the cases come up, the protocol is to deal with the bullying right there on the spot. There's
Well, obviously the staff can do that because they're there, but do you have like a rapid response team that you go in yourself and try to be there?
every staff member in the school is trained, and we're talking from administrators to teachers to cafeteria workers. Some schools have gone as far as training their bus drivers, because where does a lot of the bullying occur? You know, on the buses, at the bus stops.
Where does the Center for Resolutions head? You're in Delaware County, you're doing some work in Chester County. How can you expand?
Can we expand? Well,
Can you do Bucks in Montgomery County?
We can
Can you do
expand our
Philadelphia,
programs.
Camden County?
We can expand our programs, and with the finite world of volunteers, we can move into other communities. Yeah, Chester County, we're in Chester County, but not very much, and we could do much more in Chester County if we
You have
could
a
get some
body of
support.
work that's more than 3 decades long of knowing what works, and other people can learn a lot from that.
Absolutely, absolutely. One area I'd like to see us do more work in is actually with the public sector. Working within organizations, we are doing some training, like I said, with social service agencies. We're doing some trainings in some shelters in Chester, which is pretty amazing. It's an area that needs a lot of help. We're working with the youth aid panels there as well. As much as we can take conflict resolution skills to the public, to Delaware County, Chester County, Philadelphia, wherever they may need it, we've helped reduce conflict. We've given somebody the skills to do it on their own, because we can't be there all the time to be the answer. In an actual mediation, when people leave, they at least have, even if it's just one skill to reduce mediation, they've learned something to reduce conflict. They've learned something.
Yeah, and you talk about expanding. The fact of the matter is, we've really just scratched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the amount of folks just in the areas that we cover that could use our help, that just don't know about us, and that's why it's great to be doing a program like this with you. Thank you.
Well, not at all. And you are people who look at life and say there is a solution to most of these things.
And if there's not an actual way to resolve a dispute, then maybe there's a way to live peacefully around that. Conflict's okay, it's not a bad thing, but it's how we deal with conflict. So, we want to reduce the amount of violence. We want to see people learning how to interact and get along with one another.
So you work with courts, you work with the police, you work with social service agencies, you work with businesses.
Yes.
And you work with kids, and you work with adults, and you work everywhere
I think
else.
we pretty much covered it.
We did it. Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time, but more importantly, for all the years. I know you were on the board for a long time, Paul. Now you've got the official staff job. But thank you very much for all of your years of service for Center for Resolutions, and what the years ahead may afford. Tracy, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Congratulations,
Steve.
and best to all of your staff, and particularly the volunteers who labor so hard and do such great work. Unheralded, but we'll try to herald it. For more information on the Center for Resolutions, check out centerforresolutions.org. That's center, the number 4, resolutions.org, or call 610-566-7710. That's 610-566-7710. And that's In Focus for this week. I'm Steve Highsmith. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend and a wonderful weekend.